All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA regular season video. But this one is a bit of a throwback video. I've been sitting in this idea for about a week, and I was thinking about doing an NBA draft video for this year's draft. And then I was like, oh my God, it's 2026. The 2016 draft was 10 years ago. And I remember this draft very well. This was, I believe, maybe my third draft where I actually like watched the prospects in college and I had favorites and I was like, oh, I like this player, I like that player. And to look back on it now, 10 years later, is insane. I want to go basically through the whole draft, not name by name, pick by pick, but I do want to go through and talk about some of the players, where they are in their careers 10 years later, um, how it's turned out for them, and talk about their stats a little bit and all that good stuff. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So I want to start with what could possibly be argued, I think, is the best player in this draft. Um, when I did another video for my Turmoil series on this channel, I was talking about the Phoenix Suns and I was going through all the drafts, and I went through this draft obviously because the Phoenix Suns had a pick, and I was reminiscing. This is months ago about this draft a little bit, and and Jaylen Brown was in this draft. Jaylen Brown, middle of your screen, second row, yeah, second row of your screen. Um, and I was looking at it, and I was like, oh my god, Jaylen Brown is the best player in this draft. He's the most accomplished player in this draft. And if you just go, I use Basketball Reference. If you just go to Basketball Reference and you look at Jaylen Brown's accomplishments here, four-time All Star, 2024 NBA champ, one All NBA selection, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP. It's an amazing. It's a very short list, but it's an amazing list that a guy selected number three, who at points throughout this draft was considered not to be somebody who was fully engaged in basketball. Um, People thought maybe he wasn't really, how do I say this, fully focused on basketball. Like he had other interests, um, and stuff like that. And for him to be the third pick by Boston, he remains in Boston to this day, having the best year of his career by far this year in 2026. Um, an incredible story for Jaylen Brown. And I was somebody who was like, oh, I think Jaylen Brown's cool. I think he could be like, like a Paul George kind of player. But I never saw like, and even if you listen to my videos earlier this season and my preseason predictions for this season, um, I never thought Jaylen Brown could hit these heights, as an individual player. I had no doubts that he would be a winning player at some point in his career. Um, and him and Jason Tatum finally working out in Boston, um, in that 2020, was this 2024, 2023, 2024 season, winning the championship for Boston. Absolutely incredible for Jaylen Brown. I do want to go um, and look at his draft comparisons, because this is always fun, to look at some of his draft comparisons for these players. Coming out of California, uh, one and done guy, small forward, shooting guard, um, 6'6", 225 pounds, coming out of California. This is where he was. This is where he went to college. His NBA comparisons. This is a funny one. The first one's funny. Jason Richardson. Kinda. But this one's spot on. This one's completely spot on. The next one is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is the best comparison. Like, Jaylen Brown is Jimmy Butler if Jimmy Butler played in the modern era, essentially. Jimmy Butler is playing in the modern era, but he was more sort of like a throwback player. And Jaylen Brown has sort of done what Jimmy Butler couldn't, where he kept raising his ceiling. He improved his game to such a height and kept improving it and could be looked at as a number one option. Now, Jimmy Butler in Miami was the number one option, was the guy on that team, but only for a brief period of time, and couldn't get over the hump in the finals. Jaylen Brown, you could say he had more help. He has Jason Tatum, all the stuff. The Boston Celtics put a better roster around him. I think definitively when you look at it, Jaylen Brown has probably had a better career than Jimmy Butler, and at points maybe has peaked a little, just a little bit higher than Jimmy Butler, which is interesting to think about. I might be talking crazy, but I think that's something like you could say, like realistically. I think that's something you could say. Um, so yeah, uh, Jason Richardson, Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is a great comparison for Jaylen Brown. Even if he was just Jimmy Butler and he never did any other stuff that he has done in his career, I think that's amazing for a top three pick because Jimmy Butler, when in his draft, was like bottom pick. He wasn't that highly touted. Now we will go in order of these players from one to whatever number I decide to stop at. I just wanted to shout out Jaylen Brown and give him some love because as I don't want to say a Jaylen Brown hater, but a Jaylen Brown denier, somebody who didn't think he could reach these peaks. Um, it's been a great career for Jaylen Brown, and he's having one of if not the best season of his career right now. Moving on here, the one everybody wants to hear me talk about, the one that everybody talked about in this draft, possibly the worst number one pick in modern NBA history, Ben Simmons, bottom left of your screen, has played for a myriad of teams in his time in the NBA, in his short time in the NBA. Only seven years played, 383 games played, 11,910 minutes played for Ben Simmons. Not the career coming out of LSU slash Australia that you thought Ben Simmons would have. In his short stint in the NBA, he played for the Sixers, he played for the Nets, and he played for the Los Angeles Clippers, most notably in his final stop last year, where it doesn't look like he's going to play this year or I don't want to say ever again, but not anytime soon. Three-time All Star, um, two-time All Defensive, one-time All NBA. There's some rookie stats in here. He was a steals champ as well. There's some rookie accolades in here, and he was a steals champ at one point. Um, the kid from Melbourne. Um, I would be lying if I said I wasn't a Ben Simmons fan. I really like Ben Simmons. I thought Ben Simmons was gonna be a transformational type of player where he was gonna influence like the next couple drafts for teams to go look for these long, lengthy, smart forward guard combos. And he sort of did have that impact, but everybody saw the bad that Ben Simmons was and sort of steered clear of that. And they took the Ben Simmons idea and they're like, well, what if we just don't make them play point guard and we just make them their normal position of forward? And that's what sort of the NBA has turned into, where you need to be smart, you need to be able to switch on defense, and you need to be able to make good reads and at least drive to the basket and shoot free throws. You don't even need to make the three like that. But in Ben Simmons' case, Philly wanted him to shoot the three eventually. He did not. If I scroll down here to his career stats, we can look at his. Oh man, do they have the counting stats here? I want the counting stat. I mean, it's probably very low. He attempted, I shouldn't even say shot, he attempted point 0.1 threes in his career. Point 0.1 throughout his whole career. Um, Not great. If I could find his yes, here is counting stats. Yeah, his counting stats. He made a career. He made a career 5 threes in his NBA career. Five. That's insane. Um, Ben Simmons out of the league right now. Um, I would have to go through it, but for me personally, Ben Simmons one of the most disappointing number one pick in my time covering the NBA and like watching the NBA. There's a lot of great conversation for some other players, but Ben Simmons simply did not want it. He loved the lifestyle of being a famous basketball player, but he did not love basketball. And he only played basketball because he was tall and because at the lower levels he could bully people around. He was always bigger, he was always stronger. And then when he got to the NBA, he didn't want to put in the necessary work to get better and just be somebody who everybody thought he could be. And he just never got there. And it's unfortunate, but I think the most deserving downfall also goes to Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons just refused to put in the work, and he he always played victim, and he was never. And then once he ran out of the victim card to play, like oh my mental health, oh my back, this and that, people stopped caring. And then once people stop caring about what you could be when you're 7 years in your career, that's when your career is over. That's when you're done. So probably the most deserving downfall of this draft, definitely, and then of the last modern drafts, man, I don't know. Probably there's a lot of Ben Simmons hate out there. I just don't care about Ben Simmons. He's like a fishing guy now. He likes to fish, so he's out there, and I think I saw him on Instagram and the Great Barrier Reef something fishing. So he's living life off those millions he made in the NBA. Moving on here, the next player I want to talk about, somebody who's just had a pretty decent career. I don't want to say a great career. I want to say a bad career. Just like an overall decent career for a second pick. Maybe a little underwhelming. Brandon Ingram, top left of your screen, um, coming out of Duke, 10 years NBA experience, um, a whole bunch of great things about Brandon Ingram. Just to be a great second option. Not a lot of not a lot of accolades. One-time All-Star, 2019, 2020, most improved. He's played for the Lakers. He started his career as a Laker. Played for the Pelicans. Had some. He won most improved player there, so you can't be too mad at that. But um, had some up and down years in New Orleans, and now up north in Canada, playing as a Raptor. Has reinvigorated himself, reinvigorated the franchise. Um, at times is the number one for them. At times is the number two for them, and I think he fits very well with the Raptors. And I had the Raptors very high in my preseason predictions, and it was mostly because of Brandon Ingram and the size he brings and the shot creation and shot making he does. He's always done that. Um, his career averages are, let's see, going back to New Orleans and LA and Toronto, 23 points a game, 13 points a game, and then now back up in Toronto to 21 points a game. So he's had a fairly decent career. Um, maybe slightly disappointing due to the fact that he was sort of the first rebuilding piece of this LA of the LA experience when he was there, and it didn't really pan out, and he sort of got shipped out when LeBron got there, and then AD was traded with Brandon Ingram, and you look at that, and it's disappointing, but he's made the most out of his career, and I think it's something that and he's dealt with some medical issues as well, so he's turned into a fine player, and it's somebody that I don't want to say this in a negative way, but sort of looked at as a footnote of this draft, where it's like, oh yeah, Brandon Ingram, good player, yeah. Um, moving on to the next player here. Um, we, so that was one, Ben Simmons, two, Brandon Ingram, three, Jaylen Brown, which we also talked about. Now we get some funny ones. Now we get some um, Dragon Bender, drafted at four by the Phoenix Suns. Um, bust. Yeah, not fun. Not a fun experience. This was a bad. This was the start of the Phoenix Suns' bad drafting experience. Not much to say about Dragon Bender. 4 years in the NBA, 187 games. Not much to write home about. Chris Dunn, drafted by Minnesota, still in the NBA, still giving really good minutes to the Clippers right now. He's had a bunch of stops. Um, they just played the Jazz a couple days ago, and he had like 5 steals. He's always been known for his defense, and coming out of the draft, that's what he was known for. People would say, maybe they want a little bit more out of him, but I never expected. This is what he's done is what I've expected from Chris Dunn. Essentially, I never had any opinions on Chris Dunn. 10-year NBA career, 10,751 minutes played, and 453 games total. Next one, Buddy Hield, man oh man, out of Oklahoma. Buddy Hield was a hot name in this draft, and him dropping this far was kind of crazy. Um, Drafted by New Orleans, traded to Sacramento, I think a year after this draft, so he only had 1 year in New Orleans. Um, was a really hot name, played decently well in New Orleans, and then after that, it's been the Buddy Hield experience. And if you've watched any Buddy Hield basketball, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He'll play like a week where he's just on fire, and he's the second coming of like Klay Thompson, and then like there goes like 3 weeks where he's just really, 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 really bad. Um, not the best career. I think Buddy Hield is the most nothing burger out of this draft, where he's just stuck. He's just managed to stick around the NBA and get enough chances. So yeah, the next player. This is a fun one. So yes, the next one, I would say, per tie for top. He's in the top three of the most successful players from this draft. Um, Third row in the Nuggets jersey, the light baby blue Nuggets jersey, and then with the NBA championship trophy, Larry O'Brien, Jamal Murray. I don't want to say Jamal Murray virtually an unknown. Um, Went to Kentucky, really good school. I will say this: I was not aware of Jamal Murray until like maybe like year like four of his NBA career. I had no any I had no expectations, no nothing for Jamal Murray. But sort of like Jaylen Brown, playing the best basketball of his NBA career, just without Jokic playing out of his mind. Has had some little dips and little dives, but has managed to keep the Nuggets afloat and managed to carve himself out what might be his first NBA All Star appearance this year. 10 years later, probably one of the most deserving All Stars that has never been. We'll see if he gets in this year. The way the rosters are going to shake out, the way the players they need, I think he's going to get there. I think Jamal. I know Jamal deserves it. I think a lot of NBA fans think he deserves it, but the way he's playing, it's undeniable at this point. He has to be an all star, and if he isn't, that's a whole different conversation about getting snubbed. I do want to. I think he's one of the last players here on um, the top of this draft. Let me go back. I want to go back real quick, and well, we don't have to do the Ben Simmons one. Talk about the draft comparisons, and we don't really have to do the Brandon Ingram one either because it's probably gonna say Kevin Durant or something like that. So let's do Jamal Murray. Let's do Jamal Murray. J Mall Murray draft comparisons. Let's see. What was Jamal? Who was Jamal being compared to here? Let's see. Um, this is so. And I like this player. He was compared. There's one comparison. Ben Gordon. Oh my God, he's definitely gone past Ben Gordon. Ben Gordon, nice player, but Jamal Murray probably the better version of Ben Gordon by like 5 times at least. That's an interesting one. I would have never picked that one. Going through a couple more here. Sacramento's next at 8. They took Marquise Chris. I believe he got traded. I don't think he ever did. He play for? Oh my God, it's been 10 years, man. I don't even know if he even played for Sacramento. I can't remember. No, they traded him to Phoenix on draft night. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Okay. So Marquise Chris. I'm not gonna act like I was the biggest Marquise Chris fan, but Marquise Chris was one of those guys who was like, oh, he could be like a high energy run, jump, dunk sort of guy. Like keep the energy up. Maybe like a key bench like center forward sort of combo. And he never turned out. He had 1 year on the Warriors where he was really good. And then he had let me see where he's played. Hold on. I know he played for the Warriors. He played so Phoenix, Houston, Cavaliers, Golden State, Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, he had his he was like a project in Phoenix, didn't really work out. Um, the Rockets didn't really work out either. The Cavs was a mess. Golden State, where he attempted to like really get his foothold back in the NBA, that's 2020, 2021, and then the Mavs was his last stop, and I think he's out of the league right now. So just didn't work out for Marquise. Um, Next player, Jakob Pertl, one of my favorite names to say ever in the NBA. Has worked out, has carved a nice backup starting center career for himself, has played for Toronto, then San Antonio, and then back to Toronto. Um, just literally, this is what you expect from the number 9 pick. He's made a lot of money in his NBA career. 10 years, 616 games played. Um, One of the highest numbers here for games played, and has managed to keep a job. He's a good center. I don't want to say he's a bad center. He's a good center. He does all the right things. Um, yeah, Jakob Pertl. Thon Maker of Milwaukee going to Milwaukee at 10. At the time, this was looked at as a huge project, and looking back on it, it was a huge project and it didn't work out. If you want to hear about Thon Maker, just look up Thon Maker for yourself. Thon, Thon Maker, common spelling, Maker. 5-year NBA career, 263 games played. One of He's not even a bust because he's he wasn't even looked at like somebody. Maybe in the moment he was, but he wasn't even looked at as somebody that was like going to change your whole like franchise. He was a project. And he just didn't work out, and that's really it. um, the last one here that's on, I believe, no, it's not the last one that's on your screen. There's another one coming up here, but it's later. Second to last one here on your screen, bottom right, um, a guy at number 11 who turned into an absolute all star. And over the last couple of players that we've gone through here, last three, the most accomplished, Domantas Sabonis, 10-year NBA career, 664 games played, son of Arvydas Sabonis, drafted by Orlando, traded to the Thunder, has played for the Thunder, the Pacers, and now the Sacramento Kings, a multi-time All-Star. Um, Underwhelming sometimes on the court, but when he's going and when he has a good team around him, very, very, very entertaining. Defense is a little but I want to say powerhouse. He's just an offensive hub. He's an offensive hub. He's like Nikola Jokic light, like if Nikola Jokic was like 5 times worse. But Domantas Sabonis gets the job done. Um, has improved the Sacramento Kings so much so that like they're never going to hit those heights again in the next like 5 years. So Domantas Sabonis has carved himself out a nice NBA career and is well respected by his um, peers. And I like him as a player. And sometimes he's frustrating to watch, but I like him as a player. Um, Going through here, heading towards the mid to late teens, and then we'll speed through some of these. Oh, I forgot about him. Damn, I scrolled down too much. I went through some of these just to get pictures to get an idea for you guys to have a graphic in front of you. Some of them I did not go through at all, so there's some down there that I'm like, oh my god. Um, at 12, Utah took Torian Prince. At times, a serviceable role player hasn't turned into much. Just a guy. He's literally just a guy. Has been on a bunch of teams. Moving on, Phoenix, Georgia Papagiannis, only a 2-year NBA career. That's all I have to say about him. Denzel Valentine, taken by Chicago. Um, Man, oh man, my lasting impression of Denzel Valentine was, I believe it was when the NBA came back after 2020, after the 2020 season, and there's like no fans in the stands. We were still dealing with that thing, and it was the end of a game where Denzel Valentine and the Chicago Bulls were playing against the Miami Heat, and Denzel Valentine like crosses half court, takes one dribble, and just shoots the ball. And the announcers, and the game's close, by the way, and the announcer goes, "No, no, that is not the shot right now." That is my lasting impression of Denzel Valentine, and I think for what it's worth, Denzel Valentine at a certain point in his career was very talented and was very good and was a high level shot maker. It did not last for long. Only a 5-year NBA career. Not great. Juancho Hernan Gomez, brother of Willie Hernan Gomez, um, had some moments, very brief, very small. 7-year NBA career, 339 games. This isn't another nothing burger. It's just nothing. He was okay. When you're just okay, you don't last long unless you do something spectacular. Um, this was an interesting one. Goshan Yabusele, drafted by Boston at 16, was briefly out of the league for a bunch of years, playing in France, and recently got back in the NBA um, after the Olympic run France had. Played for the Sixers, now a New York Knick, and now the Knicks are looking to get off of his money because he's unplayable at this point. So it looks like whatever happens to Gershon, this is the last year of his NBA career, and he'll probably go back overseas and play, and that'll be that. Um, he's at number 16, running through here. Wade Baldwin, 3 years NBA career, nothing to say about him. Henry Ellison, 5-year NBA career. Malik Beasley, embroiled in some controversy that was never proven. Currently out of a job, but is a great floor spacer. Is a great guy to have the ball in his hands at the end of a shot clock, end of a game. 9-year NBA career, 578 games played, 13,000, almost 14,000 minutes played. He will be back in the NBA next year. I hope. This can't be the end of his career. He deserves at least one more chance. Karis LeVert, at 20. Karis LeVert is one of the most frustrating players I've ever watched. There was a version of Karis LeVert where you're like, oh my god, this guy's really good, and then there's a version where you're like, oh man, this is terrible. I think. Am I wrong? Is it no? Is it Karis LeVert? It might be. He might have just torn his Achilles. He was playing overseas. I think he tore his Achilles. Or was that? Is it? Am I thinking? Is this the same Karis LeVert? Um, no, that was somebody else. He's playing in. Yeah, he's in the Pistons. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of somebody else. Karis LeVert, healthy in Detroit. I'm thinking of somebody else. Um, moving on here to the 20s. DeAndre Bembry. I remember DeAndre Bembry. Nice floor spacer, good energy, nothing really. Malachi Robinson, nothing really. This was one. I remember this one. This was this is when LeBron was in Cleveland, and they drafted this kid. But Boston drafted him, and then they traded him to Cleveland. Ante Zizic. I remember people saying, "Oh, Ante Zizic is gonna catch lobs from LeBron. It's gonna be great." And Ante Zizic played 1,517 NBA minutes in only 113 games, a 3-year career. Um, this next one, this was a guy I really liked. Timothy Luau Caratop, Caropt, um, number 24, drafted by Philadelphia, 6-year NBA career. This guy was my biggest early NBA like fandom guy. I was like, I like this guy. For some reason, I just like this guy. I like the energy he brought. I like all the stuff he did on the court. He seemed like a good guy to have around Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, at the time Nerlens Noel, and what's the other one? Jaleel Okafor. Um, just never really did anything spectacular. He was just a guy. Bryce Johnson here at 25, 2-year career, 21 games, nothing. Furkan Korkmaz, Furk the Turk. Um, a cult love of him, definitely was formed at some point and then sort of faded away. I believe he's still playing basketball overseas. I don't know where, but he had a 7-year NBA career, and played some minutes, 300 and 5,447 minutes in 328 games. And then the last one here that's on your screen. Um, this is why I was questioning, is Jamal Murray like the second most accomplished player in this draft? And I'm thinking about him like, I don't know. He's definitely the second most talented, that's for sure. Um, as of today, looking at it now. But the third and the second, perhaps, top right of your screen, Pascal Siakam. Um, This was a virtual, nobody knew about this guy. Out of New Mexico State, nobody knew about this guy. He was the biggest project for the Toronto Raptors under the Masai Ujiri regime that lasted for like, what was it, a long time until recently. Um, this was the biggest project and it worked out. And he's an NBA champion with Toronto. He got traded to the Pacers a couple years ago now. Has turned the team around with the help of Tyrese. Their partnership looked great when they went to the finals last year. Um, is a Eastern Conference Finals MVP. One of the best stories of this draft for sure. He's played 21,201 minutes. That has to be the most. Yeah, that is the most. I mean, next to Domantas Sabonis and Buddy Hield, that is the most minutes played of this first round. That's crazy. Um, 675 games played, 10-year NBA career. He's a bit on the older side now, but he still looks good. I, I'm not the biggest fan of Pascal, but I just have to respect the story and what he's done, and he's had a great career. Last one here, or not last one, coming down the last stretch here of the first round, Skal Labissiere out of Kentucky. Skal Labissiere was very, I won't say highly touted, but he was one of the most interesting guys of this draft. Where you're like, if he just gets a couple things right, he's 2 years away from being 2 years away, and he just never got there. 6-year NBA career, 153 games, nothing really. Um, Last All Star here in this first round, Dejounte Murray out of Washington, picked by the Spurs. The Spurs did wonders for this guy, and then after he left the Spurs, he got injured. His confidence went down. He had to play with Trae Young in Atlanta. Now he's in New Orleans. He tore his Achilles. Um, he hasn't played basketball in a year essentially, like 12 months. We'll see where Dejounte Murray is. There's no update on him that I've seen. Um, for what it's worth, this was one of these guys that I really believed in, and I was like, this could be the first guard to win Defensive Player of the Year since Michael Jordan, and he just never got there. And he was still really good defensively, but his three ball came around and then it's disappeared. And now with the Achilles injury, the thing that made him really good was his explosiveness and his speed, and that's the hardest thing to regain once you've torn your Achilles. So we'll see what happens with Jamal. He's in New Orleans right now. We'll see what happens. And then the last pick of the first round, Damon Jones, um, NBA champ. Damon Jones. I think he's an NBA champ as a role player. Um, yeah, might be a two. Hold on, I gotta check now. I gotta check. Is this guy a two-time champ? I gotta check because he played for the Warriors and the Lakers at some point in his career. Yeah, two-time NBA NBA champ Damon Jones. Shout out Damon Jones, man. Um, yeah, that's it for the first round. Do I want to go through any of these? Um, and like do like their pre-draft stuff. I mean, Demontis bonus is probably somewhere around like there. I guess let's do Pascal. Let's do. I want to see who is Pascal being compared to because Pascal again was a virtual nobody coming into this draft in 2016, and then um, hello, okay. Here, let me reopen this page. Hold on, 1 second. Let's see. NBA Draft.net. Who was Pascal Siakam be? Oh my God. I mean, at the moment, yeah, sure. Nobody knew he turned into the All Star and champ he is now. Jordan Mickey and Luke Mbadamute. Okay. In the moment, sure, I could see this comparison. Now, 10 years later, he's surpassed both those guys entirely. Um, we're going to move on to the second round. Just shout out some people here. Ivica Zubac, still in the NBA, second pick of the second round, 10-year NBA career. One of my favorite bigs, just a guy who out there goes out there and does his job. That's literally it, and that's all you can ask of him. Check Diallo's here. I like Check Diallo a lot. He was really good. Also, I liked Himidi Diallo. He was really good. I believe they're related in some capacity. Tyler Eulis, the highs were very high and the lows were very lows for Tyler Eulis. Tyler. Oh, Tyler. Why? Who's Tyus Eulis? Tyler Eulis. Tyler Eulis. The highs are very high. The lows are very low. Their NBA career. Known buddy of Devin Booker. Um, they have one of the best like in the moment, like their backcourt of Devin Booker and Tyler Eulis was very fun to watch. And then once they really needed to get competitive, Tyler Eulis had to go. He was just so ineffective defensively. Malcolm Brogdon is here. Malcolm Brogdon is here, just retired. Um, yeah, Malcolm Brogdon is here. Damn, just retired this past off season. Um, 9 year NBA career, really good. I liked Malcolm Brogdon. I thought Malcolm Brogdon was gonna be so much better than he was, and he just got tossed around, and he ended his career in Washington, and he just never found a home, and it was very unfortunate. He played with very young Giannis, and they looked like a promising duo, and then kind of just went off from there. Patrick McCaw, three-time back-to-back NBA champion, the only player to do that in modern history. Um, Key role player. Moving on here. Isaiah Whitehead's here. Zoe Q is here. Kui Q. Um, China player for Houston. Um, Jake Layman's here. Oh my God. Paul Zipser's here. I'm just naming names. If you know, you know. Uh, Georges Niang's here. Damn. And Abil Nadier's here. Wow. Yeah, this draft was a walk down memory lane, guys. Wow. Wow. I hope you enjoyed that. I thought I was gonna do more compare like the pre-draft stuff, but like some of these are kind of obvious. Like you don't really need to do it. And the guys who were here, I mean, it probably would be fun at some point to go back and see like where like Dragon Bender was compared to. But like, was this post like no? Was this post Kristaps? I don't even remember. It's so long ago. But yeah, I do have um. Hold on, I had a tab open. Had a tab open. I apologize for the stalling. Um, Let me find it real quick. I have a mock draft, which is a draft before the actual draft where experts predict where these players are going to go. I did want to go through it. This video is running a little long. I do want to keep it a little shorter for you guys. So you know what? We're going to do a part two to this video. We'll do a little mini series and probably at All-Star break when things slow down, when there's not a lot of news. We'll come back, do a part two of this video, and look at some of these, where these experts thought some of these players would go and maybe how these players' careers would have been different if they got drafted here. So, yeah, if you want that, or you're gonna get it, but maybe if you like the video, you'll get it a little bit earlier. Um, we'll come back and we'll talk about this. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. A little throwback video for you guys. Wanted to throw something different at you guys since we've been talking about um, NBA trade season, NBA stuff like that. I just thought it was so interesting to look back at this draft, and this for sure is one of the best drafts of the 2000 teens where you have a bunch of all-stars, you have a bunch of champions, you have a bunch of like borderline all-stars, you have some really good role players. One of the better drafts of the 20 teens. So yeah, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.